This video was sponsored by Surfshark VPN! You guys know what a VPN is, right? It's only one of the most essential tools for browsing the net in 2020. Surfshark VPN will keep your data encrypted so nobody can steal it from you when browsing on public Wi-Fi. At the push of a button, you're virtually browsing the internet in whatever country you want. This means you can access iPlayer anywhere in the world, and you can unlock all the Netflix libraries that are locked off based on your location. I can finally watch The Twilight Zone, but it gets even better. Buying a plane ticket, browsing in different countries might mean you get a cheaper flight. Want to go on Facebook in China or TikTok in the United States? Surfshark VPN can get it done. There are countless VPNs out there, but how many can boast of multi-platform apps and unlimited devices on one subscription? Only Surfshark can. The cherry on the cake is that they have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you don't think your subscription is working out for you. For a 3-month free trial and a massive 83% off, try Surfshark VPN today by clicking my link down in the description. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the review. I won't bore you all with my nostalgia for the Matt Smith era because, quite frankly, I don't think I've watched these episodes more than once. In fact, this was the time I actually stopped watching the show until I picked it up again in 2014 to start making these reviews. At some point in series 5 or 6, I just stopped watching it, feeling I'd grown out of it. And here I am, 10 years on, definitely grown the hell out of Doctor Who. Now, the opening of this episode is certainly a visual sensation. I mean, flipping heck, what a start. The TARDIS narrowly avoids a repeat of Aliens of London, almost as a little nod to Davies for passing on the torch. And god damn, that title sequence is sick. One day I'll make a video ranking all the intros, so subscribe and hit the big bell button to make that happen. The first scene gives us a UFO crash landing scenario, believed to be sent from God or Santa to fix a crack in this young lady's wall. As the Doctor peeped out of the sideways TARDIS, I wondered whether the TARDIS has ever actually been sideways like this before. In seconds, Smith radiates energy and charisma. Instead of being some bedridden sick boy, this regeneration has added humor instead of heroism, which rings true for the entire episode. The 11th hour is fucking hilarious. The Doctor may occasionally have heart palpitations and a little coronavirus, but the performances and scripts do this episode wonders. Even child Amy did a fantastic job, which is almost uncharacteristic for child actors. This kitchen sequence has a wonderful atmosphere that Amy's parents could come down at any moment. To see a seemingly homeless bloke being cooked for by this young child would be the horror of a lifetime, but that's also what makes it so hilarious. What a twat he is for getting her to make all this food for him in glorious HD.
I've got some carrots.
Carrots? Are you insane?
This all culminated with fish fingers and custard, which I have genuinely tried, and I'm telling you now, it's overrated. All this fun and games is contrasted by the dark, scary crack that we see in Amy's room. You'd think in a big empty house like this she would just sleep in another room, but it is quite the simply scary premise. The crack itself looks like a crooked smile, and hearing voices behind it is quite an unsettling image that would definitely frighten a child. Unfortunately, they played this ascending violin horror movie sound effect, which threw me off a little, and a viewer might have premature visions of the Doctor having a child companion. Thankfully, they started introducing the element of eyes. We see the gigantic eye in the crack, followed up by a close-up shot on Smith with his corner of my eye moment. What this does is make the viewer look harder for whatever the big eye is looking for. Maybe Prisoner Zero has taken refuge in the TARDIS. What if Prisoner Zero is Amy Pond? Ironically enough, this very quandary would be acknowledged right near the end of the episode. All that food throwing and spitting was all in aid to make him stand out from ordinary people, and the Back in 5 Minutes music relays the emotion of over a decade of waiting on the part of Amy, a fusion of sadness and wonder and excitement. Amy packing her suitcase shows an escape from her boring inertia-ridden household being in sight, and then the open door appears. It wouldn't indicate much if you weren't paying attention, but this slowly opening door opens other doors in the mind. Maybe her aunt was here in the house after all. Maybe the escaped prisoner has just made its first move. They used the Weeping Angels tactic on a door by essentially moving unseen, but it's more frightening here because we don't know what Prisoner Zero even looks like. All this wrapped up with this shot of a fading clock, reinforcing this belief on behalf of the Doctor that he'd only be gone for 5 minutes. Holy Moses, what an opening scene. The next segment of the episode opens with this grisly shot of Rory and Dr. Ramsden. All the comatose patients waking up were creepy as heck. Mistaken identities start get throwing around in this sequence. You firstly have Rory believing that the patients are calling out for a doctor, though we know they mean the Doctor, and Amy is also seen dressed up as a police officer and putting on an English accent, another disguise we can see right through. Treating the audience in this way is so enjoyable. It's a we know something you don't know kind of thing. Though I'm a little confused, when they count the rooms on this floor, the Doctor says that they are 6. I'm not sure if he just can't do simple maths, but I think there might have been a little cock-up on the set design here. If this was the case though, you'd think they'd just change it on the day to count the rooms, it will change your life. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Once Amy goes into that room though, did Prisoner Zero swallow and regurgitate the sonic screwdriver? Admittedly, the CGI green screen effects haven't aged well, but the way the monster follows the back of Amy's neck was amazingly creepy. Then a barking man breaks down the door. So much is happening. Just look at that synchronized barking. Holy crap.
I'm a kissogram.
I think I'm in love again.
Love again.
I'd hardly call this admirable work, but it's far more interesting than her being a temp or a shop girl. I'm glad that I didn't pity her, besides the Doctor leaving her alone for 12 years, but I appreciated how she actually had a life of her own. We got more cracking lines thrown back and forth here too.
12 years and 4 psychiatrists.
Why are you playing that? It's supposed to be Claire de Lune. Hello. Sorry to burst in. We're doing a special on television faults in this area. Also crimes. Amelia Pond. That was a great name.
Bit fairy tale.
Giving the impression that these two weirdos, and thoroughly unique ones at that, are going to make a great combination. Amy created a story about an individual everybody in her town believes to be imaginary. Everyone recognizes the Doctor because Amy kept him alive in her drawings. I think Moffat was trying to address childhood trauma as a result of absent parents. Amy's strangeness can be attributed to one event that happened 12 years ago and has made her the woman she is today. In the background, the repeating mantra of Prisoner Zero is heard on every audio device. Oddly, nobody seems to be alarmed because the Doctor is drawing everybody's attention instead. This proved rather humorous as it seemed like the Doctor was the only one concerned about the Earth being incinerated. We then had a very 2010 scene in the centre of Ledworth, a fictional village from which our characters can see the sun going out. A pre-Black Mirror moment happened where hilariously everybody took pictures on a video phone. The camera then started to stutter around the place with a stop frame animation, giving us the ability to see what the Doctor can by zooming in on his eye, once again echoing the eye references seen moments earlier. This technique gives us a snapshot into the Doctor's perspective. I didn't really think Time Lord vision was a thing until this moment, and I bloody loved it. This is the linchpin moment where we think we're going to get closer to the Earth being saved, but then Amy's back to her BDSM business, still unable to get her head around how her imaginary friend is running around her village. You realise just how purposeful every element of this episode is though when the Doctor pulls out the smiley face apple, proving that he is real. It's such a fantastic moment, aside from this weird, slow J.J. Abrams lens flare here. Then everything jumped into 5th gear when Rory got thrown into the picture. There was this fantastic shot of the Doctor's hand with the screwdriver, matched up with Prisoner Zero's hand on the leash like something out of a Sergio Leone movie. 9 and 10 sonic screwdriver gets the explosive send-off it deserves, followed by the Doctor catching a bloke watching porn? This was absolutely hilarious, but what I found most interesting was the attention to prop detail. When Jeff's on the bed, the camera's pointing away from him, and when the doctor hacks into the Patrick Moore video call, it's facing him. I definitely admire the utilization of then modern technology into the story, mainly with the use of cameras. Not only does this tie in with the numerous eyes of the episode, considering everybody now has a third eye in their pockets too, but expands on a device that would once have been used as a quick joke. In this episode, there are so many gags that I lost count of the times I just burst out laughing. None of them felt impetuous, and the best example being the fire engine which the Doctor activated with the sonic screwdriver earlier that he is later seen driving. Then in the hospital, pre-Oscar winning Olivia Colman shows up to frighten the daylights out of all of us. The story just kept getting better and better, only for Prisoner Zero to start tormenting Amy, eerily claiming to have watched her grow. She matches the unseen auntie character that Amy lived with, so this moment really hits hard, both performance and story-wise. All this culminated into a fantastic moment with the Doctor breaking and entering into the hospital with the fire engine. The cherry on the cake was the text Amy received from the Doctor, exactly the same warning the Doctor gave to Sally Sparrow in Blink. Holy crap, Moffat can write a good story when he wants to. I was thinking that the whole hacking worldwide Zero thing felt a little convenient, but it was all established earlier with Porn Boy, and it all felt so satisfying, especially because of the rather blunt "the phone's purpose will come later" thing. I definitely loved the idea that in earlier scripts the Doctor was set to go into a school with a bunch of whiz kids who were going to do all the hacking for him. Even with all the tricks the Doctor had up his sleeve that would make anybody support the "who da man" moment, the prisoner was still one step ahead of him. My thoughts and expectations were continually obliterated by the twists and turns this story took. I initially thought Coleman and the kids were going to transform into the Doctor, but then I thought, oh snap, they're going to turn into Amy. Then it turned into both of them. He hasn't even had a moment to look in the mirror yet and finally sees himself. I did kind of wish that the monsters had taken Prisoner Zero and the Doctor to identify which one was the bad one, but a miracle dream was able to show the prisoner's real identity and was then recaptured. I also would very much like to know where it was hanging from and what the end of its tail looked like, but alas, the budget probably couldn't quite allow for that, nor did it allow for a complete transformation from one creature to another. Just when we thought it was all over though, it certainly was not. 20 minutes to save the world sounds like a catchy hook, but the fact the Doctor's not quite done with this alien prison complex eyeball entity really shows that this incarnation of the Doctor continues to be a force to be reckoned with. Then another turn reveals the Doctor to be getting dressed up for what would seem like a formal occasion. It dawned on me after Amy's line,
Nope.
that we should expect some really raunchy stuff to take place in this new era of the show. This contrasts distinctly from the child-friendly opening of this episode, but I find myself loving it all the same. Not sure if snooty parents would think the same, but kudos to Moffat for getting away with so much sexy stuff despite working for the BBC, all in the very first episode of his tenure as showrunner. Up on the roof, the special effects really excelled. I love the look of this ship being. I have no idea. It's so detailed. Then the Doctor sent them on their way, all whilst getting dressed into his recognizable attire. This scene reminded me of an adult telling off a small child, rounding off that previously mentioned contrast to an astonishing degree. This episode also gives a fully fledged acknowledgement to the legacy of Doctor Who. Where the Davies era was trying to create a new fan base, Moffat attempts to attach classic and revival in almost nostalgic fashion. Not only does this final scene give us conclusive evidence of this new Doctor's no half measures characterization, but builds up hype for the stories to come. The TARDIS certainly seems to work in mysterious ways, especially how it was able to pop a key into the very jacket she knew he would pick. The Doctor then returns again, this time with a slightly improved upon 2-year gap. I loved seeing the Doctor in the shadow of the TARDIS, as this matched the promotional material we received arrived when they announced who Tennant's successor would be. This cleaner, repainted exterior of the TARDIS looked very nice as well, matching the rebranding of the Doctor Who logo. God, this episode is genius! Where the yellowy green design was very much alien, this orange design is so enticing. Intriguingly, it seems more like the TARDIS has a mind of its own, as opposed to the Doctor actually doing the redesign himself like he would when he regenerated into Capaldi. This obviously ties into the soon-to-come Neil Gaiman episode, but the attention to detail in the set design is no better shown than by all the shots of the new bits, bobs, doohickeys, gizmos and gadgets. This all ended with a lovely long shot of all the toys and drawings she had made, leading right up to the seemingly gigantic wedding dress that ends the episode with a razor-sharp edge, a poignant end to a roller coaster of an episode. All this justified Amy's need to escape from the stress and anxiety that weddings can invoke, because it would seem otherwise like the Doctor got off lightly for making Amy wait for a ridiculously long time once again. So, did it suck? Well, of course not. Where do I start? Apart from a few preferential niggles, this episode is astounding. How can you look away for 1 second? Every element filled with purpose. A true tale of time travel and an excellent introduction to our new Doctor and companion. The Peter Pan and Wendy vibe that is going on here is so refreshing to see, providing a far wider audience hook than a romantic entanglement. This Doctor can adapt to any situation put in front of him, even without the TARDIS and sonic screwdriver. The redesign both inside and out are very much welcome too. I think that with the big party everybody was going to have with welcoming this new era of the show, there was an awful lot riding on this episode. Even Moffat himself said this was one of the hardest scripts he's ever written. Even director Adam Smith's influences, old Western movies, E.T. and Tim Burton, shine through in this episode. I think it's a shame he didn't direct more episodes, but it's made me more excited to watch the Weeping Angels two-parter to come. In fact, there are a lot of references to things to come in this very first episode, and I won't lie, it has me pretty excited to dive into the rest of Series 5. I give the 11th hour a 9.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. I think I must be dreaming, but I passed 100,000 subscribers after 6 years working on this channel. That is pretty monumental, guys, so I just want to thank all of you that have joined me on this momentous, life-changing journey. What do you think of this episode? Comment below or join us for a chinwag on my Discord server, where we'll continue this discussion.